All right, thank you for staying with us. Recently, Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State advocated for the scrapping of the Senate, with each zones having equal number of 4 representatives at the National Assembly, that the country should consider dropping the current bicameral structure of the National Assembly and adopt unicameral legislature. What are your thoughts on this? Join the conversation and call us on 081-270-53687 or 091-390-76948, or tweet to us at TVC Connect with the hashtag YourViewTVC. Ladies, what are your thoughts? Unicameral legislature or bicameral? Well, he is complaining that we need to scrap this. This is not the first time people are calling for the scrapping of the bicameral legislature, because the fact that we are spending so much and we are not getting that result that we thought we would get. We thought we would get. And when you see countries who have run this unicameral legislature, these are countries, small countries, actually, that have long-standing democracies. Our democracy is just 22 years. Is this something we can adopt? Are we matured for that if we say we want to adopt a unicameral legislature? YK?
I think, first of all, because I always say it here, that the Senate and the House of Reps is overbloated. One. Two, they are paid too much. That when you make it the minimum wage, 30K, the minimum wage is 30K. When you make salary 30K, no allowances, only people who want to serve, or people who have their businesses already. So it's not, I'm not going there to go and make money. I'm going there to serve because I want to change my country. Things will change. Because what we have now is you will use millions to go and vie for office. When you get there, those millions that you used to vie for office, you must recoup it. So you are going in there as a business. People who should go in there are people who already they have their businesses, so they don't need the money. So they can say, okay, no salary for me. I'm going there, I want to go and serve my nation.
Do we have those kinds of people in Nigeria?
You will find them. When we do it, we find them.
But we do. We have already.
So I agree with I definitely agree with the governor of Ondo State, and we have spoken about this many times. Even us, we have suggested this thing so many times on this table. The truth is, and he also made a lot of there are so many other things that he stated as well that I agreed, which he says, of course, he says it should be scrapped. That's the Senate. And then he says that membership should also be part-time. So you have your job that you're doing, and then you come, you sit for your, you sit for that for the time. They pay your sitting allowance. That makes sense. And then we don't have to be paid for your housing, for your entertainment, for your traveling, because the truth is that we're a poor country. We can't afford it anymore. So I definitely agree with him that the federal government is quite bloated. But also, I think we should do this right because the state governments are bloated as well. We cannot have too many special assistants and special aides that we have, plus commissioners. And we know that commissioners, or most of them, are like cronies, of this government, where you are put in these positions to compensate for like your political support and things like that. So we need to remove all these things at all levels of government, and then we can put our resources where it is most important. We cannot have Nigerians struggling to eat, struggling to get jobs, and then we have representatives, just a few people out of Nigeria that somehow have canvassed all these resources, and it just goes straight to them. First of all, before we talk about salaries of our civil servants, we're talking about the Senate and the House of Reps, their cars, their houses, where they need to travel, their aides. It's just so much that we cannot afford right now. Maybe it was something that was good at the time when it started, but right now, of Nigeria as of today, we cannot afford it. And I think that it should not just be the Senate, the state government should also look into it in the ways that it is bloated and reduce costs there as well.
Nima, I totally agree. The part that breaks my heart is this, the misconstruction of the word representative, because these people only represent themselves. We've created a Senate of big men, where not only does the office give you certain influence, it gives you money to, to weigh that influence such that you are out of touch with the people you actually represent. I am of Lagos West Central Senatorial, Lagos West Senatorial District. I've never, except during election campaign, seen the senator.
The people have a role to play with regards to that.
Hold on a minute. Every time, because in fact, there was a time I accused the representative for Ondo in the House of Reps that I am more of a representative than you are. And eventually, when they moved the issues that I was raising on this platform, they were quoting me verbatim from the experiences that I have in that area, because they are out of touch with the reality.
Yeah.
But if you live in an area where you represent, or you even, because we're a big nation, imagine for the Senatorial District, for instance, you even have a feel of what your people, of what the people in that area go through. Nobody will be saying they don't see you. You as a representative will do exactly what you're doing, what they want you to do. For instance, if you're a businessman and the policies around your senatorial district affect you, when you move it on the floor of the house, it will be passionate. It will be from where the pain is. The senatorial district I am from, we do not have such. We only see their bosses, even their palliatives that they share. There's no such in that area where we live, and it's a large senatorial district. So I don't believe in this democracy the way we have it. I think we're overspending for a certain class of people, and the painful part is that what they take, they then build the paradise they want somewhere else.
Somewhere else. Away from the community.
Away from the community
What
that
is
they're
even
supposed to
penny
represent.
means? What is even penny means? When you are a House of Rep member or you are a senator of a certain district and your office is in Abuja, how will you come to your to the place where you are senating or representing? I don't understand them. Because all of you are sitting in Abuja and you say you are senatoring Ondo or if for local government. You are not there. You are not on the job. You are in Abuja where everything is.
You're far away.
Yeah. You're far.
Even when you're in the
do your senatoring from.
You live in Banana Island.
From the community.
When they have house in Banana Island, they leave Abuja and go to Banana Island. They won't even branch in their own areas. Go to where. Look, one of the things that make a government succeed is being on the job.
Yeah, being on ground.
Being closer to the people.
Yes.
That's what governance is about.
Because what happens is, it happens in all walks of life. If you become successful, you start to lose touch with reality. With musicians, with everybody, because they only feed you what you want to know, what they think you want to know, or what they want you to know, not what is the actual reality. I know I had a famous father. With my brothers, we have not allowed ourselves to be
carried away
by what people say. Know what you're doing. Now, if our leaders, I call them rulers, should use that and go and build your house in Nima's area. If you're go and be there. So when you are driving to work in the morning,
when you see 3 hours, 4 hours,
you will feel the pain, and you will
know what changes to make.
Exactly.
You will react as swiftly as possible.
Yes. In fact, so if a businessman, because they will come with this revenue drive, capitalism and all of that. So there's a business that is impoverishing your people. Because it cripples them. It gives them less hours for their businesses when they sit in traffic. The roads are bad. People are dying in traffic. And you don't live there. You're friends with the businessman. You will be looking only at the money. Because your friend will be telling you, there's more money to be made. But if you live in that community, you'll be able to tell your friend, you can run this business alongside the good life of these people. You cannot run these people down because of your business. I don't understand how we got ourselves here, but the way out of it is just so painful that as a country, the way our constitution is drafted, which is why I also like to support the Speaker for the House, this constitution as it is now, based on this particular example that we are talking about, for instance, as falling short is not of standard. Because there's no check on them. There's nobody who can just reverse them except we have a coup.
But the essence for having both of them is to ensure checks and balances.
But do we have that? That's what I was going to next.
So if we are saying that we want a unicameral,
yes,
who will check these people?
So
the people are supposed to play a role.
So that happens.
The process of recall is another long one.
Mary,
can we quickly take a break?
Okay, sure.
Okay. We need to quickly go on a break now. When we return, the conversation continues. Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
All right, thank you for staying with us. And we are still looking at our focus on the hot topic, which has to do with Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State advocating for the scrapping of Senate for each zones, having equal number of 4 representatives at the National Assembly, and that the country should consider dropping the current bicameral structure of the National Assembly. And we'll have the Senator Ajibola Bashiru. He is the spokesman for the Senate. He will be reacting to this statement from the governor of Ondo State. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on Your View.
Hello, good morning.
Now, let's get your reaction to Governor Akeredolu's stance for a unicameral legislature and that they should be paid on part-time basis.
I would say that I'm not here to react to whatever Governor Akeredolu has said. I'm a member of the Constitutional Review Committee of the Senate. I represent my state of Osun, in that committee. I happen to also partake at the zonal hearing at Akure. As a governor and as a citizen of Nigeria, he's entitled to his own opinion, and what he has expressed is his own personal opinion. I would rather not join issue with him, either here or elsewhere, on the acceptability or otherwise of his opinion. Section 9 of our Constitution made provision for the amendment of the extant Constitution of Nigeria. So, if his proposal gets accepted by the 4/5 of the member of National Assembly, and of course the 2/3 of the State Assembly, then so it be. So, as a Senate of the Federal Republic and the spokesperson of the Senate, I will refrain myself from joining issues with him or with anybody on that, so that we will not be accused of tough protection or having...
Now, if I may butt in, it's not about joining issues with anyone here. It's about the issue on the ground. The fact that a lot of Nigerians are agitating that we need to look at how we can cut cost of governance. And that is the focus here, saying that he is not the first person to have said that. A lot of people have been calling for a unicameral legislature.
Yeah, and just to also add to that, he said it because there is a constitutional review. So these opinions have been called to be made by everyone. And so since you're on the review as well, we're just asking your opinion based on the different opinions that have been mentioned.
If you want my view on the cost of governance, it's different from asking me to react to the proposition by Governor Akeredolu. If you ask my view about the cost of governance in Nigeria, I will say with all sense of responsibility that there appear to be a lot of misconception as to where the real cost of governance is. And I will speak to data and statistics based on the 2021 appropriation. If anybody bothers to look at the appropriation for 2021 approved by the National Assembly, the entire cost, capital, overhead, as well as the current, as well as the salary expense of the National Assembly is 128 billion. That of the judiciary is also 128 billion. However, on the executive side, 5.9 billion goes to personnel and overhead. That is the current expenditure. As to the debt, recurrent expenditure on the part of the executive is about 3.1 billion. So when you add 5.9 billion to 5.9 billion to 3.1 billion, you are seeing on the current expenditure side of the executive a sum that is close, to 8 billion. And then when you marry this in the context of that, the totality of the Nigerian budget is about 13.8 trillion. So when you look 13.8 trillion, take away 5.9 trillion that goes to the executive side. So if I want to talk seriously about cutting down the size of governance, it is not just come and talk about blame game about the legislature or the judiciary, but we need to take a clear look as to if we have to spend 5.9 billion on the executive side with the total capital expenditure at 4.1 billion, we should know, and I agree with all Nigerians, that there is disincentive to genuine development. But this should not be about casting aspersion on an arm of government. And I say with all sense of responsibility that appears to be misconception as to the utility of the legislative arm of government because of the sad history that we have of the fact that of the three arms of government, that is the executive, legislature, and the judiciary, the legislative arm appear to have borne the brunt of a military intervention. Between 1966 and 1979, we did not have democratically elected legislative arm, and after 1983, December 31 coup, until 1999, the recess of it, we have not had a proper legislative arm. So there appear to be an hangover to think that you can really run governance without the legislative arm because of that sad reality of dictatorship brought upon by military rule. But if you look critically at what is even democracy, the bulwark and the base of democratic governance is actually the legislative arm, and that is where you have genuine representative of the people. And of course, from the elitist perspective, it may be said, I've had some of the comments with respect to some of your contributors here today. I speak personally from Osogbo. I was at a civic engagement of artisans, market women yesterday, and we were well received to receive their opinion. So when I hear people talk about the legislator being aloof from the people and not resonating with them, go to any of the markets in my constituency, you see intervention that were made. If you need a school, last year we made intervention in the education sector. Then when it comes to legislative making and oversight, you cannot de-emphasize the role legislator is playing in that regard. So if, because of the apparent lack of robust experience in legislative activity due to military intervention,
Senator,
we are still developing that arm of government. Does not mean we should throw away the baby in the bathwater. That's what I think about that. If I recall, but I will not join issue directly with Governor Akeredolu or anybody on the manner that that position will take.
Distinguished, I think you can speak only for yourself on this issue of being on ground. Okay. From what we are saying here, we're also talking from areas that we live in, and we cannot be making up stories. For instance, I live in Amu Odofin. The state of Ondo Road presently, as the whole of Ondo Road is commercialized for boarded terminals, we have about 11 on the entire stretch of that road to the end of that road. And the honorable member representing me in the House of Reps and the senator representing me in the National Assembly, in the Nigerian Senate, does not seem like they know what people go through there. You just need a 1-minute video of what is happening there daily. On a 5-minute drive between Ilekpo and Abule Oshu community, school children, healthy, sick, pregnant women have to sit in traffic because one bonded terminal on that part of Lagos decides to go crazy. And the only traffic enforcement agent that can call them are those. So who do you talk to when your senator doesn't live there? And you write to them, they don't react. So when we say they are not on ground, we know they are not. But maybe for Osun State that we cannot, I don't live there, you can speak for yourself. So when people talk about, these are serious issues that bother people, sir.
I just wanted to say, we are not pointing at any particular individual. We are generalizing because we live in these areas. The same thing in my own area, the governor of Ondo State came there one day. No, this is bad. They they didn't put quota, they just help us straighten the road small. But now, rain has fallen. The road is now bad again. All our cars are getting spoiled. If there was a senator on ground, if there was a House of Rep member on ground, they would have gone to the governor, say, come and see the road. Because the governor cannot do it all. They need eyes and ears, and that's supposed to be your people, the senators and the representatives. But they are not there.
Why not, with respect, why not holding brief for any member of the National Assembly as to whether they are grant or not? I think it's also very important that, yes, quite unfortunate that we have state of infrastructure that is not palatable for Nigeria generally, and that's not only limited to Lagos. But I would say that it's very important to contextualize what are even the constitutional and legal rules of members of National Assembly. And I think that is why I always take interest in participating in this kind of program. I want the role of the senator, for instance, constitutionally, are basically three. One, to ensure and participate in making laws for the good government of the country. Secondly, to also ensure that funds appropriated for government purposes are not expended in a way that allow inefficiency and corruption. And the third one, and this is particularly for senators, to ensure that appointee of the federal government go through the crucible of proper scrutiny before they are screened. Those are the three statutory responsibilities that they have. So in assessing and judging, your senators and reps, please take these, three to be the basis. To what extent have they participated in making laws for the good government of our people? To what extent have they ensured that money appropriated are not expended in an inefficient and corrupt manner? And to what extent have they been able to keep searchlight on those appointed under the Constitution or other law in that regard? But beyond this statutory thing, because you are a politician, you are elected by the people, you have responsibility to spotlight, highlight, and lobby for the purpose of ensuring that genuine development and capital projects are brought into your constituency. And you see the problem of making generalization as a legal practitioner and a student of logic. Making hasty generalization is fallacious, and it will not allow for us to name and shame particularly persons who have not been able to be alive to responsibility. And that is why not holding brief for people, some of these challenges should be highlighted. For instance, issues were raised about whether people have presence in that place. I say, and anybody can be called in my constituency, Oshogo. I have an office that is accessible Monday to Saturday to everybody. And in each of the local government, there are offices there. And I know some of my colleagues also
Senator Bashiru, you would have to hold the thought because we need to go on a break. Senator Bashiru, you have to hold the thought because we need to quickly go on a break. When we return, we'll continue the conversation with you. Just stay with us.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
All right, we've been talking about reactions to a statement coming from the governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu. Although the Senator Ajibola Bashiru says he doesn't want to join conversations or join issues with him, but you were making a point before we went on the break, Senator Bashiru, and I'd like for you to quickly wrap that up so we can move forward. Senator Bashiru, can you hear me?
The point I'm trying to make is that I can hear you. Hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that there's a need for us to know the difference between the role of the legislator and the role of the executive. And because of the development of the legislative arm, we seem to see the legislator as an end-all in terms of the challenge of infrastructure and some of the social maladies that we have. Yes, the legislator has very important role as a politician, as somebody who rely on the support of the people to get his mandate to ensure that their welfare should be uppermost. But in certain circumstances, there are limitations. And I will tell you that one of the challenges that we have in Nigeria is that some of us have been calling for restructuring in such a way that our state be in a position to have the necessary resources to attend to the needs of the society. For instance, the present revenue sharing formula at the national level is disincentive to genuine and meaningful development on the state. And as an elected legislator, we feel the pain of not only our government, but the people at that level. A situation whereby about 52 or 56% of national resource is retained at the federal level, leaving the state government, 36 of them plus the FCT, to have to deal with 22 or 26%, which means that in reality, no state actually gets up to a percent of the national treasury. So what we've been calling for, particularly from my state, the state of Osun, and the position submitted by my state at the national, the public hearing, is that there's a need for the devolution of power. Some of the subject matter being dealt with at the national level, like agriculture, roads, and some matter that affect people in the state, and we ought to look into it. Issue of fiscal federalism are also being put forward by my state in the debate.
All right, and that is going to be Senator Bashiru. That is our focus now, and I just want us to have a direct focus because we want to separate the statement from Governor Akeredolu from constitutional review so that we can have a robust conversation. And that is where we are headed now. And the issue with the constitutional review, which a lot of persons have come up with, is the fact that we have had conversation. In fact, this is not the first time we're having this exercise of constitutional review. We have had conversations around the Constitution, where especially when you look at the 2014 confab, we have this Steve Orosanye report, and the question on the minds of a lot of Nigerians is the fact that this exercise, is it going to bring the needed result? Is it going to reflect the minds of the people? Is it going to reflect that constitution that Nigerians actually want? They are asking for that confidence in this exercise. And we need you to actually help us better understand that at the end of the day, that Nigerians will get what they are actually looking for.
I think I share your fears, and I also associate myself with the yearnings of Nigerians for a constitution that really deliver on qualitative governance. I would say that our country is challenged today as to the primary purpose of government, even as enshrined in our constitution, and the purposes are security and welfare of the people. But I would say that from my position as a member of the Constitutional Review Committee, what we have done so that Nigerians can be informed is that we have set up 4 subcommittees. One to review the 2014 confab that you made reference to in your opening. We also reviewed the committees set up by the APC, led by Governor Nasir El-Rufai, on devolution of power. We also set up a committee to review all the existing developments as to constitutional amendment since 1999. And that was headed by Senator Akeredolu, trying to draw on his experience of having been a legislator that has served as a chairman of the Constitutional Review Committee in 2 sessions of the National Assembly. Then the last committee has to do with review of different bills by senators and legislators on amendment of the Constitution. It was after the report of this review exercise came up that the present public hearing is being embarked upon. And Thursday and Friday this week, the national public hearing will be held in Abuja. And we hope, and I'm very enthusiastic, seeing people coming out in the Akure zone that I attended last week, different shades of opinion on different and diverse issues, even going beyond restructuring and diffusion of power to issues of gender, issue of religion, issue of indigenship and citizenship also being on the front burner. But as I say, our constitutional process should be an all-embracing process, and one that we must not come up with a prejudicial or no-go area. We should open our minds and be conscious of the fact that whatever we make of our country today is what will shape development in the future and what will determine the delivery that the government can have. But speaking for myself, I believe that my colleagues in the legislative arm should see this thing as not of tough protection. We must be open to ideas as to how do we restructure government to become efficient in delivering on infrastructure development, delivering on social welfare, and creating a productive economy for our people. A situation whereby the bulk of our national resources is being expended on bureaucracy of government is unwarranted and is inimical to the continuous existence and growth of our country.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. But I just also want to ask concerning the process. Many Nigerians have asked as well that what is the timeline for this? What is the timeline until there's a there's a change in the Constitution, what would it take? What is the? Who are the people who? How would it take to sit down and review each and every one of the? After the public hearing now, how long would it take? And who will be those that will be in charge of reviewing each and every one of the complaints? Like in the Northwest, they've just said we have over 77 memoranda that had come out of there, and this is the whole of Nigeria we're talking about. Just so that Nigerians don't think that this is just an exercise in futility, this is just talk shop, we're coming here to talk about it, and then we normally get that response of what, doing something about it, give us some time, we'll get back to you. Do we have specific timelines as to when we'll start to see this physically adopted?
All right, Senator, before you respond to that question,
yes, we are looking at...
we need to quickly take a caller on the line. Bernard calling from Port Harcourt. Bernard, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Please, your contribution quickly.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
My contribution is that I don't think it's right to embark on unicameral legislation. The country has some problem. The problem of the country is not from the legislation. It's not from the legislation. Though they appear as if they are not working. The problem of Nigeria is from the executive, the judiciary, and the legislation.
All right.
So, in short.
All right. Thank you, Bernard. All right. Senator Bashir, you can react now. Thank you.
On the question of the processes of the constitutional review, the level that we are now is after the public hearing, and I will inform Nigerians that at each of the centers of the public hearing, not only legislators who are present, but we also have consultants who are experts in constitutional law, political science, and legislative drafting accompanying us to each of the centers. After the whole of the exercise, there is a steering committee of the Senate, which will now, based on the amalgamation of issues that have been raised. And what I mean by this is that there are identified subject matter for which the aggregate view will be collated. For instance, on the issue of devolution of power, what has been the position in Northwest, North Central, Northeast, on issue of structure of government, on issue of indigenship, and as well as other related issues. So on a broadsheet, which can even be drawn on simple software as an Excel software, we'll be able to have a broad overview of what these issues are, which will be circulated to members of the committee. And every state has representation of a senator in that committee, and I have the privilege of representing my state, state of Osun, on that committee. So these are issues of utilizing effectively the consultants and, of course, the secretariat to be able to aggregate what are these issues on each of the subject matter. Then this will now be tabled at the Constitutional Review Committee level on each of the items. There will be an agreement. What has come out from the public hearing on devolution of power, what has come out on structure of government, what has come out on fiscal federalism, and so on and so forth. And as the President of the Senate, Dr. Ahmed Lawal, said, we are looking towards completing the exercise of in respect to the Senate, possibly before we embark on a recess for summer. And this will enable the return to be made to all the state House of Assembly on each of the items for them to make a return, and then we determine which of the items of amendment get required 2/3 from the State Assembly.
Okay. Now, let's quickly take another caller. Hassan is calling from Lekki. Hassan, are you there? Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a national issue. The governors, the senators are all culpable in the problem of high cost of governance in Nigeria. All of them.
How so?
Yeah. There should be a sincerity of purpose on both sides. Look at the policy protocols of the state governors. PA, you understand, and even their expenses are too many, are too enormous to be handled by our resources. The senators, What you see on their payslip is different from what they collect. So the issue now is this. Let us be sincere. And let me make one thing very clear for all of you. Most of the senators, 99% of them, are lackeys of the government. Because most of them go to the state, go to the Senate, via the backing of the government. So there's no way any one of them will challenge the government. And what they are trying to do is to make sure they protect the interest of the government. This devolution of power will never work. Because this issue of saying states should control the resources, a state in which most of the government are personalizing the resources of the state. Go and ask the civil servant. Go and ask the business of the state. How are they planning? The issue is this about tax service. Please let us all be sincere. If they have problem with the president, go and be frank with him, talk to him. It's our leader, we elect him. So the issue of going around shifting blame is not there.
All right. Thank you, Hassan, for your contribution.
I didn't really hear what he
Next
said.
question.
Yeah, he was saying that everyone, both those at the executive, legislative, is culpable, and it's not about shifting blames. That was basically what he was saying. And he spoke about, I think, devolution of power may not work. That was what the contributor said. Next question.
I wanted to know, sir, how, because the Senate president had said that the public hearing will start today, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the public hearing will start today. How, like my colleague asked Ella, is the duration, how long is this supposed to be for? And how soon do we expect to see this review douse tension across the agitations that we have?
And just to follow up on the question, how can we contribute? How can citizens go to these places? How do we know where they are if we want to be part of this
Public hearing.
They've already started.
Public hearing.
public hearing?
No, with respect, we are
Senator Bashir, are you there?
yes, the process of public hearing is almost coming to an end with the national public hearing
Yes.
holding on Thursday and Friday. At the various zonal hearings, there are before, as since last year, there have been called for memoranda, which was advertised in all major national dailies, and the notice of the public hearing were also published in all national dailies. I can tell you that at the zonal hearing in Akure, Eda Dome, that I participated, no less than 140 memoranda were received, and presentation made were in excess of about 74. So I will say that generally there have been a good reception by Nigerians participating at the public hearing. And I must not fail to mention that the last caller, unfortunately, is seeing issue of constitutional amendment and restructuring from the prism of anybody having problem with the president. I will say that I'm a member of the All Progressive Congress. I was elected on the platform of AP, just like Mr. President. I don't have any personal problem with the president. But I'm talking personally from my experience as somebody who has served at the state level in two capacities, first as a commissioner for specialty as Attorney General of my state. I believe that the resources available to the states is such that they are not even able to adapt. And to counter the argument of the so-called sleaze by governors, I think there are ample ways by which people can monitor. I'm speaking from my state. I think with the little resources we have, anybody is challenged to come down and see massive infrastructure development being carried on by the present administration of my own political party. So you cannot just make a banal allegation that people are taking resources out of it. But the reality is this: when you have an allocation, for instance, of about 4 billion, and the government structure is taking about 3.4 billion, leaving purchase of 400 million for development, you begin to ask questions whether a less than 8% allocation is enough, notwithstanding the best effort being put in place to increase the IGR. The truth is this: federal government
We need to quickly take a call.
Defense, external affairs, currency.
All right, we need to quickly take this call. Senator Gold is calling from the UK. Gold, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
You ladies are doing a very good job. I congratulate you for that.
Thank you.
This morning, I want to say we should thank God on behalf of Governor Akeredolu, who has been so courageous enough to come out with that kind of statement that there is need to prune the ties of governors in Nigeria. But I can assure you that before you know it, the people in government will soon be calling for a head to be removed for saying that kind of thing. I can only pray that there will be more of right-thinking persons like him in government who will join him to express similar opinion. It was a similar statement made by Dino Melaye that the National Assembly members, the remuneration be pruned that made him to be kicked out of government to the extent that he was after his life. Anyway, that's apart. Can anyone tell me the rationale that is behind pampering all those people in government until they enter their sleep? Why would they retire and then, why would they leave government and then we will still be renewing their cards for them every 3 years after going with about 4 cards? Why would they be paying them pension for working only 4 years to serve the country? Maximum they can serve is 8 years, and yet they will enjoy 100% pension on their remuneration after leaving us. Can you imagine how many people have served government and they have retired now, and then we are serving them, paying them for doing nothing for us? What sense is in that?
Thank you, Gold. Right.
So I wanted to call the senator's attention back to my question earlier, because we've amended this constitution at least 4 times. It was last amended in 2018. And we see all those amendments not resolving the issues that we have on ground. So I'm wondering, this amendment that we're doing finally now, will it quell these agitations, across the country? Is it the solution, sir?
I think I will say with respect that I don't have power of clairvoyance to be able to know whether this will cure agitation. But I think in any society, there is always a process towards achieving collective aspirations of the people. The process may be substantive, may be incremental, or maybe in one fell swoop. But what I know is that over time, what we have been having are incremental amendments on a piecemeal basis of our constitution. I cannot predict for now what pattern ultimately the present exercise will do. But as somebody who has a federalist perspective to how Nigeria should be run, I'm very optimistic that we will put in all our best, at least as far as I'm concerned, and some of our colleagues who similarly believe, to ensure that we have a constitution that really addresses the question of having effective, efficient government that will ensure in the welfare and security of our people.
Okay, sir. I'm also wondering, because many of the callers have just referred to the cost of governance consistently and about how the Senate can be scrapped or not scrapped. Do you think this would be a conflict of interest when you sit down and going through and trying to resolve this through the resolution? Would it be a conflict of interest when Nigerians are asking that really the Senate should be scrapped?
I was, with respect, I was not born a senator, and I will, God willing, giving me life, I will hand over when I'm not, when my tenure expires, and if there is still the Senate, possibly I will contest. There is nothing personal about it. And I will say that that's why I refrain from joining issues with the governor of Ondo State, who happened to be my very senior learned colleague, to say that we have an open mind about it.
Senator Ajibola Bashiru, we have to leave the conversation here now.
For the betterment of the country be open to all ideas on how to restructure our country.
All right, we have to leave the conversation here now for want of time. Thank you, Senator Ajibola Bashiru, the spokesman for the Senate. Thank you for your time on the program. We'll take a break now and we'll return to talk more on the show. To stay with us.